Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Esau McCauley podcast. I am joined by producer Mike. It's good to have you here, Mike.
It's great to be here, Esau.
Yeah, we people should probably be excited because we almost didn't have you because like we a few weeks ago we had to reschedule the podcast because you were in a wreck. So people should be excited that you survived like this dangerous accident that you had.
I know, but it's why Priscilla. We tried to have you on a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
and
we had to reschedule Priscilla. Yes.
And it was interesting though, Esau. How do you feel about me surviving that car accident?
I was super excited about it.
Oh, because what happened?
What happened?
So it was a minor fender bender, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I am, waiting for the police to come, and Esau tries calling me because normally Monday mornings when we kind of hash out what we're going to talk about. And I don't take the phone call. Instead, I text him like, "Hey, I was in a minor car accident. Everything's fine.
Yes.
I'll call you when I can."
Yes.
And about a second later, I got a text message back, and it said Esau McCauley laughed at what I wrote.
So
he laughed.
Priscilla, let me explain. We're going to introduce you in a moment. If anyone has ever opened up the like little icon options when there is like to respond to something, the exclamation mark and the laugh like thing are right beside each other. So
Yes.
I saw that my friend had been in an accident. I was like surprised and like, undone by this. So I thought that I hit the exclamation button, but I hit the laugh emoji and I didn't see it, Priscilla, for a good hour. During which time he screenshots it and sends it to the entire staff
I sure
at
did.
the Holy Post.
We're gonna put it on at least in this episode.
Mike
Go to
says I got
YouTube.
receipts.
I got evidence. Esau, you can't help yourself. It's like a Freudian slip.
So then once I saw Priscilla's, I removed the laugh emoji and properly placed the exclamation emoji. And
too
then
late.
I said, "This isn't funny, this is sad," or something. I did the whole thing.
Nope.
So clearly I didn't mean that, right?
I think he did.
Yeah.
Priscilla,
I think they're trying to break up friendships
You know
by
what I'm
putting,
saying?
those things. Yeah.
Priscilla, have you ever done this? Have you ever hit the wrong like emoji?
I have not, but I believe you. I believe you.
Esau, it just feels like that if you would have taken a second to pause and be like, "Oh no, my friend Mike,
Yeah.
I want to make sure I hit the right reaction." It feels like it was like whatever.
Or
I'm just gonna click the first thing I
could
see.
have actually typed a
Or you could have
response.
typed anything instead.
I think that's the funnier part, that there was actually no words.
No words.
Yeah,
Just-
best
No.
case scenario, just an exclamation point.
So on the podcast today, we have Priscilla's Perot Dominguez. She said I couldn't get her name right. I think I got it. Did I just nail it?
You got it.
Who is, are you like associate pastor? Is that the right title or just pastor?
Yeah. Associate pastor, yeah.
Associate pastor at Renovation City Church in the Bronx. I'm going to tell you one thing about the Bronx, and I don't want our New York audience to mock me. Because I'm from the South, okay? I'm from Alabama. And
Sure.
like Alabama was so backwards. We get accused of being so backwards. It's not, for a while, Bama was like an insult that people would call. But I must confess this. When I was a kid, I thought Bronx was an abbreviation of Brooklyn.
Oh, Esau. Oh, Esau.
Wow, I did not know that's what you were saying.
So please forgive me. I know they're
But,
different
the
places.
X,
Yeah, like
took
I don't
over
know.
the rest
I don't
of the
know, like
letters.
Bronx,
Yeah.
Brooklyn. I don't know. Anyways,
I think people from Brooklyn would be more offended by that than people from the Bronx.
since
Yeah.
then I now know that they're two totally different places.
Yes.
And I've been to Brooklyn. I'm not sure I've been to the Bronx. So y'all need
Yeah.
to invite me at some point, even though I don't travel anymore. So
Pull up.
for our first story, which is we're going to get to some serious topics later, but since it is a little bit heavy, we thought we'd start with a little bit of levity. I was reading on God's internet yesterday. They were interviewing one of the former cast members of the movie Princess Bride, and she said that they're not going to do a sequel of Princess Bride. It's one of these classics. Everybody knows that these days, basically every movie gets remade or there's a sequel. And she said, "We're not doing a sequel because we're too old." Like it wouldn't make any sense.
It's fair. It's been a long
It's
time
been a long
since that
time.
movie came out.
And so it made me think about, and there was a sense of like, at least the 5 people who read about this on the internet, there was an excitement that something that was a part of their childhood that had this, it was almost a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And it was not being remade. So people were happy they wouldn't see more of it, which made me ask this question. What is a movie, and I want both of you to answer it, what is a movie that is so well done, or at least so essential, that it cannot be remade? What is a movie that they can't do another one? If you tried to say, I'm going to announce it, I'm going to be mad. Priscilla, do you have one already?
Can I say one that should have been remade that I felt was perfect?
Okay, they should not have been remade?
That should have not.
Okay, which one? I think I know. Can I guess?
Sure.
Coming to America.
I loved
No.
Hold on. I actually loved the remake.
Oh, I've not seen it. Okay.
Okay, I love the remake.
Okay,
I also don't think they should have remade it.
Okay.
But I did love that movie.
Okay.
And that remake was not necessary, but it was entertaining. People might not like that I say this, but Lion King, I feel like the perfection, it was literally the muse, everything about that movie was perfect. Yep. And then y'all gonna get CGI real animals.
So I don't know how many podcasts that you do, Priscilla's, but there's a couple of people who we don't mess with on a podcast. There's a couple of groups, because I think Beyonce did the music, right? For one of the Lion King.
For
one of them.
And we know that Beyonce listens every week, Priscilla.
What I'm saying
so
to you
we
is
can't talk smack.
We stay away from the beehive. We don't want any of that internet smoke. But you're right. I'll take the Lion King.
I can say, because the newer one, right? Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the music, and I am a Lin-Manuel Miranda fangirl, but I was like, y'all just need to stop. That movie came out when it came out.
Let it go.
It was perfect.
Okay, then. What do you got?
That was actually one of the movies I considered. I agree. This one's kind of funny because it's a superhero movie. So by nature, they remake these all the time. Yeah. But The Dark Knight, I think, is the best superhero movie of all time. No Batman movie will ever come close to being as good as that movie.
So your take is we should stop making Batmans?
Why even bother when they're all just going to be bad compared to The Dark Knight?
What else are we going to do?
What about, it's just like, it's fine, but it's not as good as The Dark Knight.
So I had two, because I like to violate my own rules. The first one, as a shout out to the New York area, one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid was Do the Right Thing. And there was something about, and let me put this like content warning out here. Part of what we do here on the Eastside Macaulay podcast is not to say that every single thing in every single book, movie, story, article, music, movie that we talk about is redemptive, that we're going to give a cosign to. I am saying that when I was in high school and I encountered this film, it explored race in ways that made me want to engage society for the better. And so for me, Do the Right Thing, you can't remake it. But here's another one that is not even a movie. It's a TV show that I think you can't remake.
What?
He's breaking the rules.
This is like so beyond the prompt.
Yes, it doesn't matter. It's my podcast. The TV show that you cannot remake is Cheers. It was a moment in time. You can't do it. You can't do it.
Haven't they essentially? Is it Friends?
It's not. Excuse me.
A version of Cheers.
You know what? Mike's Corner, that is a key part of this podcast, happens when I tossed you the mic. So if you commit my second thing, then I'm not going to give you a chance to have your corner later.
It just feels like I have a microphone in front of me at all times.
I can see. Okay, that's fair. Now, unfortunately, speaking of remakes and seeing the same thing over and over and over again, we're out here in the western suburbs of Chicago. And what is happening in Chicago vis-a-vis the ICE raids and the things that have been happening in this area actually feels like a movie we've seen way too many times over the last few years. That I cannot count how many videos I've seen of people being treated in ways that seem inhumane. I can't recall how many times I've seen children crying. And so can you give us a little bit of context about some of the stuff that's been happening in Chicago, which is kind of part of a larger national conversation that's going around what's happening with the activities around immigration?
Yeah. So for a couple of weeks now, Chicago has been filled with the presence of federal immigration agents in the city. Agents have deployed tear gas with no warning.
But it's called, let me say, it's Operation Midway Blitz is the language they're using to talk about what's happening within our borders. But go ahead.
So they've deployed tear gas with no warning. They've raided apartment buildings where they zip-tied residents for hours, including U.S. citizens. They literally went in and zip-tied every single person in the building. They've handcuffed a city council member at a hospital after she asked to see an arrest warrant for a detainee. They've arrested more than 1,000 people now. And many times this is done in pretty violent and aggressive ways.
Don't forget about the helicopters.
And yes, they've used helicopters as well. They're using military tactics in downtown Chicago to conduct most of these raids.
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things. I could say a lot about this, but I want to at least kind of set the stage and say 4 things that I think that Christians ought to be thinking about as it relates to this particular topic. The first thing I want to say is everybody, every single person, regardless of their nation of origin, is created in the image of God. And because of that, for that reason, they deserve a certain amount of dignity and respect. In other words, they should be treated in a way that is humane. That's where the language of humane comes from. The second thing I want to say.
Wait, to just go off of that, because I didn't even mention what's happening at Broadview now, which is an ICE detention facility that was never meant to be a detention facility. It meant to just be people would come there for up to 12 hours at the most, and then they would be released. ICE quietly changed the rules that now they can hold someone there for up to 72 hours. But WBEZ has reported that they even have evidence that people are being held far beyond even the 72 hours. Men and women are just held in 2 individual rooms. There's a toilet in the middle of the room, essentially. There's no beds. There's no privacy. The food is essentially bread, and they are cramming people in like sardines. It's inhumane the way they are holding people.
And the way, because of some of the protesters that are being met with tear gas, there are people who are saying they're not even in the protest, and the tear gas is seeping into their homes.
Yeah, schools have had recess inside because of all the tear gas in the city. They don't want the kids out.
And they said they set up a like a detention zone where there's a fence, and because of that, the people can't, like, there's sometimes emergency services that having to be redirected to in order to get to the people who are in need, not just related to ICE, but because of the way that it's blocked off a street corner, it's affecting access to other places for emergency services. So I'll come back to what I wanted to say. Priscilla, can you talk a little bit about, like, is this happening where you are? Is this influencing your community? Can you say something about it? And then I'll get back to what I want to say about it in a second.
Yeah, so I live in the Bronx. We have a lot of immigrants. I'm a daughter of immigrants from the Dominican Republic, and it varies, documentation, all that. But we just moved to a different area of the Bronx. But a few months ago, when we lived in the previous area, I remember I was just coming out of the train, and there's just ICE agents everywhere, and a lot of them did not have, like, you could not tell. Based on what they were wearing. I actually went up to one of them and asked, who are you and what's going on? Yeah. Because you can do that. You have the right to do that. But my community does not know that. Yeah. People that speak English don't know that. And in my community. And so it has been, just really devastating. I think both devastating of witnessing it and then also seeing Christian response to it with just saying things like, oh, they're illegals, they're violent criminals. Yeah. But what I find ironic, Mike, what you just described, I feel is violent, right? It is violence against people. And so there's this advocacy for oh, they're violent criminals, which from my understanding is 7% have done violent crimes. But then there's violence being done towards them. Yeah. And to be a Christian, to follow Jesus and to see that and hear that and to find a defense for it and an excuse for it, I think is really wild. I watched this video a few days ago where a young boy, he's saying, no quiero, no quiero. And that means I don't want to. And it was because he didn't want to let go of his mom, who the ICE agents were ripping away from. Yeah. And all he was saying is no quiero, no quiero. He did not understand what was going on. And that should affect us. Yeah. that should absolutely affect us.
One of the things, what I was trying to get to is, regardless of immigration status, every person is made in the image of God. And because of that, they deserve a certain amount of dignity and respect. That's the idea of being humane. I'd say that's a key principle that is uncontroversial in Christianity. I think it's also fair to say that a nation, a country, can have laws and rules as it relates to the regulation of their border. But those laws and those rules must be implemented in a way that is humane, that doesn't violate principle 1. And secondly, those laws and those regulations cannot be rooted in stereotypes that speak lies about what a person is. And so one of the ways that we get to this place where people feel comfortable having immigrants being treated this way, because there's been a long history of dehumanization. So if you call everyone who's coming in a criminal, if you're saying that they eat your animals, if you're saying that the countries that they are failed states, if you listen to that over years and years and years, then you can try to convince yourself that the people who are actually suffering these things are in a different category of human. And one of the fundamental truths of Christianity is that every person is a person. That may seem like a freezing cold take, but it doesn't take, we can differ on immigration policy. We can't differ on the need for basic humanity. What I think that we have, to me, that is indisputable. If you want to say, one, every person made in the image of God, therefore they deserve a certain amount of respect. Two, a state can have laws, so those laws must be implemented in a way that is just and humane. Three, we have ample evidence that this country is failing in the humane treatment of migrants. That's when broad view becomes so important, because we can't say that the emergency justifies dehumanization of people. And what then do you do if you find yourself in this place where you are in a country where you're seeing that people are being treated in a way that's inhumane? I think that's when it's really important on the church to play the prophetic role that God calls us to. The prophetic role of the church is to tell the state that it answers to a higher authority. And the higher authority that the state answers to is, in fact, God, who will have something to say about how you treat other human beings. So that's what I want to get to. I want to get to, like, can we have as our standard of operation in this country the humane treatment of all people, even the people who've been accused of crimes? They're still people. That's the reason why you have laws and regulations around jails. Even people who are incarcerated deserve to be incarcerated in ways that respect their human dignity.
I think the thing that has really stuck with me and has been pretty impactful on me is this story of the apartment building raid that happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
Agents went in the middle of the night, and
I think it was 3 a.m.
3 a.m, helicopters and everything, and just started zip tying everyone in the building, regardless of their immigration status, including U.S. citizens. And that there are eyewitness reports of agents laughing at the kids who were crying, saying derogatory things towards them. And I just never thought I would experience a time in my life in America where agents could come in the middle of the night and detain you and arrest you for no reason. And I don't want that to, like, this is something you see in a foreign country, and you don't ever expect it in your own country.
Yeah. I want to say this is one of the things. I want to say a couple of things, and I think this is at least important. Actually, Priscilla, we don't want to leave you out of this conversation because I can hold back. I got a lot to say about what's going on. Mm-hmm. But is there anything that you want to add before I jump in and ramble on a little bit more? It's okay if you don't, but I want to give you some space.
Yeah, no. I think it's just essential to, like, hear things of, like, what Mike just said and think about what we feel about it.
Yeah.
Because what I think is happening is that we are being programmed as to how to know how to feel.
Yeah.
When it's like, well, you're a human. You have a heart, you have a mind, you have a soul, like, you have autonomy, you have independence. And it's like, really, what does an agent laughing at small children make you feel?
Yeah.
And it's not that we should live a life or even walk in a faith that is solely emotion-centered, but our emotions do matter, because when we disconnect it, then we do disconnect the dignity for these people. Yeah. And so I think we need to even be aware of, like, how we're processing all this information that either people like me who are witnessing in the street or they're reading in articles and watching in the news, because then it just becomes information and it's no longer people.
Yeah.
It's just like a news outlet, and it's not actually a person that you're hearing their story. Yeah. And that should really kind of rattle us, and as to how we've become a little bit like programmed, like moving more closer to like bots than people. Yeah. And that should make us think more.
I think that if there is a challenge that the church is going to it's in the middle of, and I think we'll continue for the foreseeable future. Excuse me. It is the consistent humanization of every single person in this country and in the world. And what I mean by that is we have to be able to say the migrant is a person. But not only that, our political enemies are persons. The whole thing is like the people who disagree with us are so beyond the pale that communicating with them is impossible. But not only is the migrant a person, not only is our political opponent a person, but the ICE agent is a person. And I want to believe that not every single person, I know it's not the case, that every single person who joined ICE did so because it was their goal in life to, zip tie children. I don't think that's every single person. I just don't believe that. And I've had family members who are in law enforcement who got into law enforcement to try to make a difference in their communities. Then they found themselves in an emotionally complex and compromised situation. They couldn't find a way out. And so actually you might want to ask the question is, how does this impact people who are tasked to do things like this that are damaging to their own soul? One of the things that I think I learned from the civil rights movement that I have never let go of, and maybe it's the only way I'm able to function in this moment, and I talked about it a few weeks ago, that both the oppressed and the oppressor are trapped in the same lie. And that lie is there's a hierarchy of persons. And so even the people who are engaged in this activity, yes, it needs to be condemned in as strong a language as possible. But at the same time, what does it do to the soul of people who have to do that? Because you have to deaden a part of yourself to be able to not have some sympathy for individuals. And once you kill that part of yourself, it's almost the work of God to bring it back to life. So I want to say the entire thing, from beginning to the end, is a unfolding tragedy that I think deserves our prayer and our attention. You said something in the preview episode about the arrest. Can you say something about that? Yes. And then we'll switch over.
So this is from acting ICE director. Let me pull up his name here. Marcos Charles, who has admitted that half of the arrests are collateral. And so that means that when they go into that apartment building, at least half of those that they are detaining and arresting should not actually be arrested or detained. They are just gathering everyone up. And I think even for those who are strong, like they want strong borders and they want stricter immigration policy, that's totally fine. Not like this.
Yeah.
And I think I just know, so I know there are like the extreme far right MAGA who are cheering. I know that doesn't make up, I actually don't think that makes up the majority of Trump supporters. I know a lot of Trump voters, Trump supporters who have described it as holding their nose. And I understand that. And I think it's time to maybe take a whiff of what's going on, because it's smelling pretty awful out here.
So if you're saying half of the people who are being arrested have done nothing wrong, what is the line? That's one of the questions that I often asked about. And it's the thing that I keep reflecting on, because I've seen enough videos, right? I've read enough accounts. I've always wondered, is there a line or is there a floor where we say, no more? Is it 70% of the people who are arrested are innocent? Right. So if half of the time, and a significant number of these people, not a significant number, I have no idea that I don't have this stat. I know that American citizens are being arrested in these roundups too. Yes. And sometimes they're being detained. And so at what cost? One of the things I like about the cross, and I talk about it a lot, and then we move on to, believe it or not, the SuperBowl. But one of the things that I often, one of the things about Jesus that actually inspires me so much is that what Jesus did is he had a Christian end by a Christian means. In other words, he didn't just attain justice, right? He didn't just attain salvation. He did it in a way that was holy, just, and good. Like his life reflected it revealed God to the world, and his death for sins was an act of transformation. And so Jesus' way of being in the world, as one who is holy, just, and right and good, affected an end of salvation. So for me, for something to be Christian, it must be a Christian means and not just a Christian end. And so if your goal, which is to say we need to have just borders, right? As a Christian, to get to the end of having fair borders, it must be engaged in a way, to me, that is self-ethical. And my fundamental criticism is, before I can answer any policy question, the ends that I'm seeing is fundamentally like unjust. Now, it may seem to be unrelated.
Everything's related.
Everything's related in the Eastside Macaulay podcast. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Because believe it or not, that some of the people who are upset about the status of immigration in this country are also upset about Bad Bunny. Anyways, let me ask, so everybody who doesn't know, Bad Bunny it has been announced as the halftime
performer
of this upcoming Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I know Swifties everywhere were just like...
They were mad. They were upset.
They had to hold that L for a moment. No shade to them. Leave me alone too. Okay, so first I'm going to ask you this question. Priscilla, do you listen to Bad Bunny? Or have you listened to them? Him?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'm Latina,
Okay.
so absolutely. But even if I wasn't, probably would.
Okay.
But yes, on rotation.
Okay,
On
I need to have a confession. I have not listened to a single solitary Bad Bunny song.
Wow.
But I'm washed in general. So like I want people to understand it's not that I'm shading Bad Bunny, because we're looking up who were the most streamed artists last year. Or was it? And I think it was like Taylor, Swift, and then it was internationally, globally.
Internationally, it was Taylor Swift,
The Weeknd.
The Weeknd, and Bad Bunny was third.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The only time I listened to no shade, once again, the only time I've ever listened to Taylor Swift is when someone.
Esau, you spent a lot of this podcast saying no shade.
By shading people. That's how we do it in the South. We shade you by saying no shade. I don't listen to Taylor Swift except for when it's necessary for the podcast. I may have known the Weeknd song, but I've never typed in Weeknd without an E to like listen to music. So like I'm just an old person in general.
You just kind of taste.
If it ain't Kirk Franklin, like Maverick City, Tasha Cobb, Lecrae, Jackie Hill Perry, Show Baraka.
He's like, I only listen to Christian music. I'm really Christian.
I'm not
I
saying
don't know
I'm
about
not saying.
y'all.
No. I mean, listen, I be in the streets now because I was listening to that new Chance album too. So I'm not trying to be super sanctified. I'm saying some of this stuff I'm not listening to. But I can acknowledge what I'm saying to you is everything that's happening in culture ain't for me. And it's been a while since like I expected the Super Bowl to cater to my needs. But there's certain people who are offended by the choice of Bad Bunny. Do you know some of the reasons why people were mad, Mike?
Well, because his songs aren't in English, right? I mean, I think that's it.
Because they don't realize that Puerto Rico is a part of the United States.
Oh yeah, they said he wasn't American enough.
Correct.
But he's a Puerto Rican citizen. So let me say this. 'Cause I was doing some research on this, and I actually think this is true. I think there's something the church can learn from this. 66% of the audience of the Super Bowl is in the United States. About a third of the audience is global. 127 or something like that million people in the United States watch the Super Bowl. Basically, that's like a third or a half the country or whatever the number is. If you start adding the people who are in the room when the Super Bowl happens, most of America is watching the Super Bowl. You have audience capture. It has been the strategy of the NFL over the last few years to actually make their product global. They've had games in London. They've had games, I think, in Brazil. I think they've had maybe games in Germany. I'm not sure about that. They had one in Ireland.
They just had one in Dublin. My Vikings.
Yeah. And so the whole point of the NFL is saying, we have this audience. We need to reach audiences that are already that are beyond us. And in order to do that, maybe we need to have an artist that might draw in that audience. Now, once again, I don't know what Bad Bunny's music is like, so I'm not saying that like everything in this content I agree, but the idea that in order to reach a new audience, there needs to be some cultural hospitality where we adjust to others instead of having everyone adjust to us. I think it's an important lesson for the church to learn. Like if you say, I want my church to become more multicultural, and the road to multiculturalism is to telling people from the other culture to become like you, there's a limit to the diversity you're going to experience. And so I do think, and maybe I will have you, Mike, speak to this. And once again, you have to speak to all people of Latino heritage. So you're not all. I'm just saying, what did it mean for you to have to know there's going to be a Super Bowl halftime show? It's going to all of his songs are in Spanish. It's going to be in Spanish. What did it mean to you? Did it like fill you with joy? Like, just tell me how you responded.
Yeah. It got me really, really excited. Like I said, I love Bad Bunny. Do I agree with all the things like, he talks about in music? No. But it made me think about, so I grew up in the Latino church, so I didn't really listen to like English services or English music, worship music until I was like an adult. And now when I am in a service and a worship song comes up in Spanish, something different happens in my body, in my mind, in my heart. Like there is a warmth, there is a comfort that I am worshiping God. I'm experiencing God in this native language I have, but also the people around me who don't speak Spanish are engaging in this with me. And there is It's basically the rebuke of uniformity, right? To do that. And I literally write a whole chapter about this in my book of just like uniformity has become the norm, but like diversity is the gospel message, right? Like, right. Like Acts 2, like it was just a whole bunch of different people welcome to the church. And so I think it's going to be uncomfortable because you're not understanding what he's saying for a lot of people, but it's thinking about like, well, who's in the room? And what I mean by room is in the United States, right? Or in the world. And that's what I think we need to ask as Christians in any case, who's in the room and how we can include them, not just include them like in Spanish Heritage Month or for Black History Month or for whatever, like how can we actually include their culture? And I think that's what the NFL is doing. It is actually a great lesson for the church. How can we include the people who are already in the room and who are already part of the body of Christ in what we are doing and part of the culture, right? So I'm excited. And I think it's a beautiful example of how people are going to be willing to engage in this. Also, for people who maybe don't have any friends or family that's Latino, and maybe even, again, connected to this ICE thing, like they have a disconnect because of that. I think having exposure to communities that we don't know a lot about opens up our heart just a little bit more, just a little bit more to have access and have a little bit more of a lens of dignity. So, you know, he's no minister, Bad Bunny, but I think this can do a ministry work in the church and in the country if we let it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When we talk about what we're trying to do in the podcast is, I think that the culture is always revealing something, either in its brokenness or in its moments of insight about what it means to be human. And so I'm not saying that like, we should play Bad Bunny in church. I'm saying
You're saying I should unsend that email I just sent to my pastor? I thought that's where we were going.
No.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, and here's the crazy part about it. The NFL is only motivated by money. So I want to make sure we're really clear about this. The NFL thought that there can be a new profit revenue stream that will be opened up by bringing in the Spanish-speaking market.
And let's face it, Taylor Swift said no to them. So they went to their second choice.
I don't think so. All right. I'll leave that alone, though. And so what I'm saying to you, if there is someone who's motivated by money who doesn't... I don't think the NFL actually cares about spending. I don't think they care if there was no financial repercussions. We actually believe that having people from different cultures united under the same God testifies something about the kind of God that we serve. And so we have a gospel-oriented mission to be multicultural, and we can't be outdone by the NFL, which means thinking through in your community, what does hospitality look like? It may not mean having like a Spanish language service, because if you have no Spanish people in your community, that'd be hard to imagine. But if you're in a place where there's not a huge Spanish speaking community, there might be other things. So for example, in our church, we've struggled because we're a church plant. We're trying to be multi-ethnic, and it's not easy to play gospel music. You need a lot, there's a certain way that the piano has to sound. And so we're always struggling to ask the question of, how do we include kind of the core elements of gospel music culture and not just default only to CCM? And so being intentional about simply asking that question. And so I think that the NFL, at least here, is pointing a way towards the church, and it's inviting all of us to ask, what does it actually mean to have gospel hospitality? The last thing I'll probably say about that is Bad Bunny is the third, from 2020 to 2022, is that what it was? Was the most streamed artist globally. So in the world. So that means like anywhere in the world, he was number one. And it spoke to me. And once again, I didn't know this until I looked at it. And I was convicted, I'm not talking about him as an artist. I don't know. But I was like, it seemed almost like a metaphor for me as I was researching this story about sometimes how we underappreciate the contributions or the accomplishments of people who are outside of our like frame of reference. And I was like, wow, this person has a tremendous musical impact, which I'm totally ignorant.
I think that's a good point. That so often we as humans are usually bad at understanding that there is a world outside of our own of people who like things that we don't like. We did that fun episode on the Taylor Swift album.
Yes.
and like the episode was just meant to be ridiculous, kind of a joke. But it was like, oh, we should talk about this because it's literally the biggest story in pop culture right now. And I saw like a couple comments that are like, why are you talking about Taylor Swift? And it was just kind of like and it was because they did not like Taylor Swift. It's like, fair enough. But hundreds of millions of people around the world are listening to this.
And once again, we weren't attempting to co-sign all of Swifton. We were just saying, how does what's happening right now reflect what's going on in the world? Now, Mike's Corner. And by the way, before we leave, I want to say something. You mentioned a book because we forgot to sell your book. We believe in selling the works of our artists. So what's the name of the most recent book that you put out? Show it. Put it up there.
Yeah.
We can put this in the show notes.
Being a Sanctuary.
Yes. Get the whole thing.
The radical way for the body of Christ to be sacred, soft, and safe.
There we go. So y'all need to pick this up so you can learn about how to be radical, soft, and safe.
And Priscilla was actually on the Holy Post podcast, episode 648. Yes. So go listen to her interview.
Why did you go on? You know what? Why did you go on the Holy Post before you came here?
Well, your podcast didn't exist yet, Esau.
You know, Fight Star? This is how Fight Star. And then
and remember how we just said, like, you shouldn't take everything so personally. It's not all about you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I can't be mad that you were on the Holy Post before the Esau McCauley podcast existed. Now, we're going to close out because I felt like if I don't give you Mike's Corner, people are going to say that I'm not giving you the love that you deserve. I'm giving you your real co-hosting respect. Yeah. So what do you have for Mike's Corner?
I was just thinking, do you think we should have a jingle or it feels like Mike's Corner?
I don't think so.
No? Oh, okay.
Okay, here it goes. Internet. If you want to make a jingle for Mike's Corner that is actually good, it has to be 10 seconds or 15 seconds. And maybe it has to have the word Mike's Corner. Yeah. We will play it. We'll just insert it every time. Now, you got to give us all the rights.
Yeah, and we're not paying for this.
We're not paying for this because we're the broke podcast. But if you do want to make a jingle, you will get the joy. We'll say who you are and all of the other stuff. You can have a jingle. Okay, now, in the absence of a jingle, can you just tell your do your story?
So, do you guys feel like social media use is going up or down?
I think I use it less.
Okay. Priscilla's pointed up.
Priscilla, you pointed up, but not everybody's online, so you got to say it out loud.
I think because of the times. Okay. I think it's way up.
Okay.
Well, so Financial Times is reporting that time spent on social media peaked in 2022 and has since gone into a steady decline. Digital Audience Insights company carried out the analysis of the online habits of 250,000 adults in more than 50 countries, showing people turning away from platforms.
Good for them.
And it's going down by 10%. So
wow.
Can I ask you this, Priscilla? Mm-hmm. Do you use social media as, and actually it was not internet, it was social media. Did we say social media?
Social media.
Do you use social media as much as you used to, or have you decreased a little bit or increased?
You know, it's funny that I said up because I definitely use it less. But I feel like when I'm on it though, it feels like everybody is just talking a lot. And maybe that's why it just y'all talking a lot. But I'm definitely on it less these days. I think, I got a child. I got things to do. I'm pastor. You know, I just finished my second book.
There we go.
I got things to do.
So
that's right.
What they said is actually, if you go back, and it's not only has social media usage declined, like the reason that people say that they're on it has actually shifted. It used to be connect with friends, get updates, and now they said it's to kill time. And so basically people are going on the internet less for any productive reason other than to kill time in between things. And so that's the reason why the content is becoming more and more strictly focused on dopamine hits, because they know that people are no longer engaging in the internet in any way that is all helpful. And I noticed that, and maybe it's funny because I don't know if it's 2022, but somewhere around there, my internet usage shifted dramatically.
Yeah.
I rarely, and sorry for the people who comment on stuff. I don't always get into the comments because wading into the comments is just like a no man's land, which you can never return without a piece of yourself being ripped apart. And so I engage in much less conversation on the internet because I just feel like there's too many times where I would be talking back and forth, and next thing you know, we went way left.
Yeah.
And so I do think the internet is much less conversational. So the story said that the internet usage is down globally with the notable exception of one country. Can you guess, Priscilla, what is the outlier country in the world that is actually using social media more?
This here, United States of America.
Just proud to be an American. Number one.
Yeah,
We're still number one.
We're number one.
Now,
yay.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But maybe I am. What we say, like, what's it called? Like, what was that segment that we had? Conspiracy theories we might actually believe?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. the rest of the world has looked at the internet and looked at social media and said, this is kind of a cesspool that's ruining our souls. Let us get off of this.
Yeah.
While Americans are saying, let's just double down on the crazy.
Well, it's kind of like when you, have you seen this was a while ago when they compared TikTok in China compared to TikTok in America. TikTok in China was full of like educational videos and like science and STEM stuff. And it was like very helpful. And then in America, it's just like dances and it's a cesspool.
Probably because the Communist Party was coming to get you.
It's like China knows this is really bad.
They don't want dancing.
But for our citizens, we're going to make it good. But for the Americans.
No shade to China, but I don't know if I want to put a totalitarian regime as the ones who do TikTok well. But I'm going to hear you there. I'll let the internet yell at you about that one. What I want to say is that if the media companies are recognizing that it's harder to get people engaged, in order to get people engaged, it has to be more and more inflammatory. And we're using the internet more and more. That means we're being exposed to more and more extreme views at the precise time where we're becoming more and more incapable of seeing our fellow neighbors as humans.
Totally.
One of the things that is often so odd, and this may seem like, once again, a weird take, is how many normal interactions I have with people in the real world. You know, I'm out walking my dog. I'm out, like, if I go to church, if I just like at the grocery store and I talk to a human being. I'm not saying that this is a utopia, but I don't run into like the crazy internet person. And maybe I run into the crazy internet person, but they put the crazy down when I see them in society. So it might be the case, and once again, a freezing cold take by the Esau McCauley podcast, that maybe the American tendency to increase social media at the time when social media is doing the most damage might not be the best take. Now, Priscilla, you mentioned that you finished a second book.
Yep, last Monday.
Okay,
thank God.
So it's not for sale yet. So we don't want to talk about that one. Okay,
next year.
We want to hold back. Okay, so
yeah.
How can people find you on God's internet? How can they connect with your content? Tell us how to hunt you down. Well, not hunt her down.
God's internet is sending me.
Don't hunt her down. Leave her alone. But how can we support your work is probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully my name, not many people I think have it. So it's just Priscelli's on Instagram, Priscelli's PD. Also the website, Priscelli's PD. And yeah, I have it there. I have a podcast that I have abandoned. So don't go look for it.
Don't go look for the podcast.
Because once I became a pastor, I was like, whoa, where's the time?
I feel bad
But
now.
yeah, that's where folks can find me.
I guess I'm a bad pastor. Sorry.
No,
sorry,
bad podcaster. I don't know. We'll figure it out later.
She's like, I actually pastor my people.
You have a whole team. I have.
Okay, you're right. There we go. So you also want to let the people know about, like, we're hitting the road?
Yeah, Esau, you and I are doing a little live event here out in Boston on Sunday, November 23rd. I mean, I guess Amy Peeler will be joining us too.
Yeah, she's going to be there too.
But an evening with the Holy Post in Boston, Sunday, November 23rd. You can buy your tickets now at holypost.com/events. If you want to see Esau, it is funny that there are times, Esau, where people will see us in public.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Oh, this banter thing, it's real. It's real. This isn't just
like an internet bit. No, it's actually real. We're real friends.
This is just how we interact." So you definitely want to come check out that event.
So this is our first like Esau McCauley podcast episode on the road. And I'm not trying to say that you should come or they're going to cancel our podcast, but like our boss is kind of mean. John, my goodness.
John,
he's like, Esau, get your numbers up.
Yeah, it's just so, we just feel so much pressure every time.
We got kids. You got kids?
I got kids.
And so do you want me and Mike to be unemployed? If y'all don't come and he's looking at the budget line item, at least pay for the plane tickets.
They don't even have to come. Just buy a ticket.
Buy the ticket.
Just buy a ticket.
Yeah, buy the ticket.
John's not going to this event. We can tell. Oh my gosh, 300 people.
Oh, remember when Will Smith had the AI?
Yeah, it was incredible. Denzel came. Denzel was our special guest. It was so amazing.
Yeah, it was great. No, I was gonna say, like, you can have the AI generated audiences. Yeah, it was packed.
Yeah, it was packed. It was so good.
So Priscilla, it's not that far from.
Yeah, I was like,
if you're not that busy,
I might pull up.
Pull up. Okay. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch up with you all next week. Please like and subscribe to this video if you want to see me, Mike, and the rest of the team continue to think through Christianity and popular culture.